Good morning. Oh, they're not on yet. Leslie, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
All right, so I'm just waiting we're waiting for Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Anybody talk to her?
Not recently.
Okay. And Alyssa's out of town. Thank you guys for sending in your weekly reflection reports. That's really helpful. Good to see all the good things going on. Did you have time to review the workbook for today?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Let's pull that up.
Yeah, let's pull those up. Let me pull my PDF up. It's easier than the other one. So today is all about mental attitude, right? Frame of mind, perspective. Why don't we first talk about our highs and our lows? Leslie, do you mind going first?
Sure. My high is that I was able to spend the day with my best friend yesterday, who I had a little issues with for a while. And then my low was that I actually got lost on the way back home. I had to recheck.
Where were you at? Like, where were you coming from?
Santa Monica, but because a lot of freeways are under construction,
Yeah.
It like close off ramps.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. How about you, Remni?
My high was I just had a really good weekend. It wasn't anything very special, just kind of went to the beach and watched the World Cup, but it was just really nice and calming and pleasant. But then my low was I got a little bit sick on Tuesday, so I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I'm okay.
Okay, good. So let's see, my highs and my lows. Well, let's see. What do I want to share? There's always like so much that goes on in our world, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I hadn't been feeling really good, and I just found out that I think another medication I'm on is causing those problems. Well, I guess the good news is that it's been revealed to me, and I can actually maybe do something about it.
Oh.
So yeah, so I think I'm gonna call my doctor and titrate me off a different medication. Hopefully the pain won't come back, because that's controlling nerve pain. But yeah, I just found out I'm allergic to that. So that's kind of good and bad at the same time, but I'm relieved rather than to know, I'm not going crazy or something and feeling these, not understanding where all the feelings are coming from. When you can relate it to a specific, there feels, it gives us more of a sense of control and the ability to make a choice. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the freedom in knowing that is, the enlightenment is really good. So let's start out by sharing my screen, week 3. Okay, that did not work. Can you see? Oh, it's upside down. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So this week is about being positive, but it goes deeper than that. It goes to first understanding, last week we talked about empowering beliefs and limiting beliefs and putting those into effect. How do you think you guys did with those? Did you pick out a couple and work with it? And were you able to use them? Do you have any questions about how that worked? I mean, I'd like to know if we've got a foundation going so that before we proceed.
I definitely used it. Just in general, though, like just every day. Sometimes, like I feel like negative for a moment of a day, and then I just use these, like, the counterbalancing phrases to just sort of pull myself out of that. And so, yeah, it really worked for me.
Good. Keep it up. Don't stop doing it until it becomes completely ingrained. How about you, Leslie?
Well, I personally saw it this week a lot just because using that, I was able to, like I said, my best friend here has
Mm-hmm.
been rocky and going up and down all year. It's been over a year. And then this week has been really good. We like talked it out and we hung out, and it's great now.
Good, good. So would you say that, if I heard you correctly, I mean, I hear that it sounds like you're drawing upon all the skills that you've been learning in the meetings, right, in the workshop training, um, and you're utilizing those through effectively communicating with your friend, and perhaps even you setting some boundaries. But would you say that the countering beliefs have worked and helped you stay on more of a positive track?
Yeah, because if I wasn't thinking that, I wouldn't have initiated anything, and I would have
That's
just like left it.
right. So in other words, you felt by implementing the counter thoughts to the negative ones, it empowers you to feel more confident in your ability to address some of these issues that have been bothering you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Awesome. So then that sounds good. We can move on. Let me bring my screen share up again. And this is a great exercise. Well, first of all, here's what we're going to learn how to do. I put this up on the invite, but I'm not sure if you saw it. Is work on the right priorities, which is kind of what Leslie said. I gotta repair this relationship. It might be that for you. It might be for others. It might be getting organized and ready. Like I know Renmeet's starting a job, so she may have to check in with those priorities.
Yeah.
And then in other words, how we're going to move forward with confidence and grace. And empowerment is about living with that positive mindset, using all of the knowledge that I've been sharing with you to continue to influence and win others, which means drawing more people into your circle, looking for the right types of friends, building integrity, and then just in general treating people with kindness and goodness and whatnot. Because the more we do that, the more we're going to attract that into our world and be less conflict. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an exercise we do with the kids in workshops called the Big Rocks First. Typically we do a demonstration. You could look it up on the internet. This demonstration has been done with golf balls. Professors have done it, throughout the history of time. And really, it's about establishing a strong foundation and identifying for each of you personally which are the big rocks that you need to be putting in first, because we can continue filling this jar. So for example, if I was doing this demonstration in front of you, we put some big rocks in, and I'd say, is the jar look full? Some people might say yes, some people might say no. Then we can add more rocks, smaller pebbles and whatnot. And then we can even add water. And the point of it is that our cup is going to overfill. We can always continue stuffing things in this jar. But if we don't have the big rocks and identify those to lay a strong foundation, then it would be built on, say, sand or something that's not as strong, and then things start to fall apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what would these big rocks represent, like, for example?
So for example, look at slide number 5. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see it.
Okay. I can make it a little bigger. Then you're going to, since we're not painting these rocks in our workshop, we're doing them on paper. You would print this out, or you could make a list, and we would write. So for me, it would be obviously my faith, my relationship with God, right, would have to go in first. The time that I spend with my family, my passions, meaning there's time that for me to have a strong foundation. It includes, prayer time, my family time, good healthy connections, right? Spending time with my passion, and then from there, we can all start to determine what else would go in there. So, for example, that may be hobbies, that may be health and exercise, right? So that we're continuing to not only just feed our mind, feed our body spiritually, but maybe also feeding our physical necessities too. So does that make sense?
Right.
So we would have you write those down, and then we can share with each other. I only have 2 of you. I don't know where Charlotte is, but that we can lay this down so you identify, which this ties into your wheel of life. So if you want to go back to your wheel of life and kind of look at what you wrote there, you can write these things down. But the big rocks are about having that strong foundation, things that you're doing every day and that you're concentrating on and you're spending your time in. So think about if you know what you need like when you feel your best, what are you doing at that time? You know, it could be, you know, mental health in the respects that I'm using counter, you know, positive thinking. That could be one. So it's things that we know that on a foundational level is what's going to make us the most successful.
Okay. Do you want us to do that now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
When you're done, just let me know.
Okay.
Did you guys get the invite okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to, I'm going to send, and everybody, did everybody have get an update about the time of that it was changed? Like, as far as we all talked about it last week, I know that, right?
Yeah.
But did you, I know an update went to my email and Girls in Power, but did you guys get anything else, like a reminder on your, is it on your calendar?
I
Or
didn't
was
get a
that not done?
reminder.
Okay,
I just
okay, so that means it's not. So, for example, I went in there myself and added people. So I don't know who set the calendar up, but when we set the calendar up, we should put everybody's email addresses in so that they get an invitation, so that they know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that might be why Charlotte has no idea. She may still think it's next week or later today, or may have forgotten. I don't know. But
But we did
nonetheless,
talk about it last time, the
I know
time.
we talked about it in great detail. I know. Okay, well, I've just sent her another email. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Tell me, who's got their big rocks first, and what does it look like? Leslie, do you want to go?
Sure. My big rocks, definitely physical activity. That's something that makes me feel good every day.
Right.
And eating like fresh foods, like vegetables and fruit. I made it into a lifestyle a little bit ago, and now it's just like something I need to do every day.
Okay, yeah,
And then friends and family.
that's great.
And
How
then
about you,
mine
Renee?
are also friends and family. I also put love. I put physical and mental wellness, happiness, and then education.
That's great. That really is good. You've identified strong values too, which you need in your life.
Hmm.
That's great. So let's move on. So, you guys heard of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich? It's like one of the most read books
No.
ever. If you've never read it, you definitely need to get it and read it.
Okay.
It's all about positive thinking and how to just manage and be successful, and creating manifestos that you live by. And he's written some other books that have recently been published, and I highly recommend anything you can get your hands on about him. They've got a great website you can go to. But this concept of positive mental attitude has been taken from, was originally introduced, as it says, in 1937. And, you know, this is about being able to do either a paradigm, sometimes people refer to it as a paradigm shift, where we're shifting our thinking in order to create better and realities from a different perspective. Because sometimes, as you guys know, when you're having difficulty in your relationship, maybe things aren't going your way, maybe like if you can't get a job or you've lost your job, or big things hit in life, or sometimes even small things, that our perspective and how we're looking at it really affects how long we stay in that place, whether it's a victim mentality, kind of a poor me, or I've got this big cloud. So in other words, negative thinking, right? Very critical or negative. It could be guilt-ridden. It could be filled like shame. There's a whole host of feelings that go along with that negative place. And so when that happens, we tend to view everything as being bad, or we get hypervigilant, or we get paranoid, which preceding that is all about worries and fears. So are you with me so far? Am I making sense to you? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So using up a positive mental attitude or statements will help you achieve positive results. It is very similar to creating a counter thought, just as we did in the exercise limiting versus empowering beliefs. So basically, this helps you, as you can see, there's some statistics. You're 30 more times likely to succeed by using this. Napoleon Hill was famous for saying, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. And so that is definitely true. Universal law has shown and demonstrates always that if we do a paradigm shift and we shift our thinking to one of positiveness, whether it's happiness coming from love, in other words, not looking at things that are bad, we then attract. So that's based on the universal law principle. So these are if you go to slide number 7, you guys can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So using this and enacting this and having a couple statements to at least start you out, you will eventually adopt the new habit or way of thinking on a more daily, ongoing basis. But we first have to start out with some statements that are true to you, each of you, and that you can help you implement this in your everyday world, right? So this is just a simple exercise, although it can be challenging when you're actually trying to think of a positive statement or a mental statement or a attitude statement. And the way we break those down is a positive statement can be something that's more related to a sense of well-being of where you want to be, meaning I am a confident, vibrant person. I am a success. Mental statements have to do with more that are countering any negative thinking that comes up. So if we're being critical, let's think of a statement that could counter a critical thought or a negative thought that's attacking our self-value, our self-image, our self-worth. An attitude statement is all about how do you want to project yourself into the world? How do you want to walk? How do you want to treat others? In other words, what do you want to be? What do you want to embody, right? Mm-hmm. So let me cancel. So is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want you to worry about are you going to get it right? Because this is unique to you. In other words, you're not necessarily sharing this right now with anybody. Certainly, you're more than welcome to, when people notice a change, or if it comes up, or if you want to speak about this, you would certainly talk about how you implemented this type of positive mental attitude in order to achieve and the results that you wanted. Does that make sense? So I don't want you to be critical about yourself, like, what am I writing down? Is it right or is it wrong? Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. So we can play with this with ourselves, meaning we can talk about it. If you have questions, I want you to ask me. Is anything coming to your mind, like right now, for either you, Leslie, or Ramneet, about what a positive statement would be, what an attitude statement, what a mental statement would be?
Trying to think.
Well, let's just take the first one, a positive statement.
Okay.
I looked at your weekly reflection reports, and I can see how your whole mentality, your attitude is already changing over time, right? Since you first started in this group. And can you think of one thing that you've been telling yourself that's been very effective for you? I think you might have mentioned it a little earlier, but I didn't write it down, so I can't. recall it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can pull up your weekly reflection. Wondering where you sent it. Remneet, where did you send yours to me? Unless you have it handy.
I sent it to the human resources email, I think.
You did, okay.
But I can pull it up. I have it close by.
Yeah, I found that looking back at those are helpful right now if you need to.
Yeah.
Leslie, how about you? Do you have some things figured out about how you want to think and what you want to implement?
I don't know exactly where it fits, but I know like in general I've kind of adopted the it takes 10 seconds of courage to just do something, and it may be positive or negative. And most recently it's been positive for me.
For you to step out and have faith and be courageous. So that would be like, that could fit under a positive statement. It could fit under an attitude statement. So either you could break that into two sections, that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am courageous, or I'm victorious, or I am a risk taker. So they're I am statements. They're basically what you're going to use and implement when you're having a tough time, and or you're just telling yourself, like, the first thing you wake up in the morning, you're telling these things. Brendan Burchard is a really another great guy. He's written the book Charge, and we've gone to his seminars and have listened to him. And one of his statements is, I think I might still have it on my phone. I have it, wakes up every morning at like 7 o'clock. I think I have it. Let's see here. What was it? One of his sayings is, step into your greatness. So you can kind of see the concept of that is to really take on, take off the negative self, right? And the old habits that are bad, and put on the new self that you want to be. No matter if it's kind of like, you can apply this saying, fake it till you make it. It's the same concept. You will become what you tell yourself you are. Okay, so we can start with, if you're having a hard time identifying these, just right now, like Ramneet, I would ask you a series of questions like, what keeps you up at night? What's bothering you? What makes you feel inferior?
I guess just my current position in life. Like, I always thought I'd be doing a lot more right now, but I haven't for whatever reason, and so that kind of keeps me up at night. Like, just why I haven't
worrying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what do you want to become? If you know that about if that's your old self, and we want to create a new sense of self, who do you want to be, and what do you want to become? Because you certainly don't want to continue thinking that, living like that, and nor do I think it's even reality. It's not reality. This is about stepping out and taking on a perspective of a good reality, a true reality. So you can identify, well, what are you doing to be that person, or what do you need to do, or what do you want to become? You don't want to be that, right? What do you want to be?
Right. Well, I want to become successful, and I want to make a difference, and I feel like, well, just by joining this organization, really, I feel like I've started to help make a difference. So
awesome. That's good. Yeah. So in other words, I am making a difference in the world, or I'm a contributor to society. I have value and a meaningful life. I'm living a meaningful life. So there's like 3 statements that you just plug in there that fall under mental, positive, and attitude. So we can do the same process with you, Leslie, about, what keeps you up at night, what bothers you, what's the negative thinking that you have consistently heard, and then we would ask the reverse of that is, well, who do you want to be, or who are you becoming now, or what do you see as the reality you would want to create?
Right now, it kind of switched to just what I want to focus in school. I was kind of first was figuring out my major, and that was like a lot, and I just like took a break, and now it's coming back in a couple months, so I have to figure that out. And I thought I'd be more like advanced in knowing what I want and what I want to do, but not as far as I thought it would be.
Well, I think, and I wanted to reassure you that that's quite normal and acceptable. I mean, I think that, we could get off on a whole tangent of why we should or should not be pushing our children into college, or what society thinks we should be doing. And primarily, the reason why you're hung up right now is because society's pushed you down this direction, right? All the labels and all the ideas and all the expectations that have been placed upon you, but you're still figuring yourself out, right?
Yeah.
You're still figuring yourself out. And so I would ask you, well, let's just determine some short-term goals. If you don't have long-term goals about who you want to be or what you want to achieve, what would be some short-term goals? I know you said you want to figure out your schedule with school, but it's kind of getting you hung up because you don't really know where you want to spend your time or what you want to be learning right now, right?
Yeah, because it's like all interconnected.
Right. So in other words, you probably should do some prayerful meditation on thinking about, go back to the basics. What makes you happy? Where do you feel alive? Where do you feel the most connected? Obviously, I know it's probably through dance or through Zumba or through that health, or maybe it's teaching and educating people on diet and nutrition because it's what it's done for you. It's impacted your life in a positive way. So I need you to go back and think about, when have you felt the most connected? What brings you the greatest joy and the most joy?
That's what I was looking at. I've been figuring it out to look in the health and fitness industry lately. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I started that.
And that's good. And I think that you have to do that. And then, like you said, you can apply your whole principle about being a risk taker and having a little bit of courage. And also it's about faith. I mean, what you're talking about to me is a lot about having faith and believing in yourself. So one of your attitude statements, right, or a mental statement could be, I'm going to be bold and courageous in my decision making. I'm going to have confidence in myself in everyday things or in everyday decisions. Okay? Yeah. So I encourage you to continue playing around with that. And this next slide, I think, seems pretty basic, I would think, for y'all. Like, especially Leslie, you've recently rekindled or reframed a relationship and repaired it with forgiveness and grace or whatever you did, right? But you see, when we look at our friendships and we identify what friendships are not healthy for us or are toxic, and if we want to attract the right kind of people, well, what do we need to be doing and embodying ourselves, right, to win and make friends? And we even can apply this slide. I have a slide where it's about winning and influencing others. These are the same basic principles or values of people, and that what we need to be doing. So first, if you identify the qualities of a good friend, you see I have lots of bubbles here: loyal, forgiving, funny, honest, friendly, kind, and caring, trustworthy. Maybe integrity should be in here. But this is also, just to briefly go over this, about where our focus when we're meeting people is not only to be aware of what we want to attract, but also who do we want to be to those people. This is going to help you establish a really strong bond, create a supportive community for yourself, like your circle of support, right? It'll give you the ability to discover what other people's interests are, which could also expand your own mind, right, and your own opportunity by listening to others. And we have maintaining flexibility, which is about meeting each other halfway. So meeting a friend halfway. I had this friend for 18 years, and she moved to Beverly Hills, and I was out in Calabasas. And, that was a challenge, the distance, because before, she may have lived in Woodland Hills. And the distance created a challenge where we really our relationship had to evolve over time. Every 5 to 10 years, we had to consistently put in new boundaries, or I did for myself, about if I'm gonna meet you this week, then you meet me the following week. It's about being flexible. But at some point, sometimes you may find, right, that not all friends can meet you halfway, can be flexible. When that happens, my advice, or what I've done, is I have to draw those boundaries for myself about that relationship now it's not bringing me value. It's not Um, it's not working with my needs. I need to be flexible and mindful of the other person's needs, right? So in other words, we're always not just looking from our perspective, but we're trying to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to be adaptable sometimes, but then the same is true for when we need to identify, do they bring value to you? You know, are they being accommodating? Are they embodying a good listening, flexibility, good stewardship, the things that you want? So this is just a healthy reminder about the types of relationships that are going to make you a better person, and which is going to allow you to continue to serve the world in a better capacity. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, good. Did you both attend the Heart Leadership training?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of you did. Okay, good. So we're going to skip over this because this is all about, you guys remember the fishbowl perspective,
Right, yeah.
Big picture thinking, responding versus reacting. So is this still working really good for you, taking 3 breaths, you know, utilizing eye contact, body language, listening more than speaking? Is that really helping you? Good. That is a skill that you just need to continue doing, master, and it will make such a difference in all of your relationships. Do either of you want to share a success story with how, by taking on that fishbowl perspective, observing and listening more to the other person, how it's created a new healthy relationship that maybe was rocky before? Do either of you have any experiences where you can say, or overall in general, this is applying these principles and pausing and thinking before I speak, and being willing to validate and empathize with another person is actually helping you and benefiting you?
Yeah. Well, I know for me, like, sometimes, like, okay, if it's a topic, let's say, for example, that I'm really passionate about my beliefs, sometimes, like, I know before this exercise, I would kind of utilize reacting more than responding.
Good.
But after doing this and, like, after sort of learning how to just look at it at the big picture, I've learned to calm down and not get so, like, overly passionate about things, because sometimes it comes off, and I don't mean for this to happen, but sometimes it comes off as me, like, attacking the other person, and I don't ever mean that, but I can understand why it comes off like that. So using this is kind of helping me, like, calm down and then kind of voice my opinion in a more healthy and efficient manner. So.
Right. More structured and more contained. Controlled. I can so relate to that. I used to be so intense and passionate.
Yeah.
I had to totally, you know, keep it closer to my chest.
Exactly.
Especially when you're like one-on-one. It's different when you're on stage and you're speaking, or if you're teaching, right? Because that's a quality of minister, of teaching, of leading, right? Ministering to others your ideas or what you're passionate about. But not everybody in this world, and the majority of people, cannot handle that type of intensity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, you know, obviously that's why I'm teaching all this, because I've had to learn this for myself, you know, like, people actually are getting offended, and I'm not trying to be offensive, I'm just passionate. And so it's really about, you know, I mean, I use the mantra, slow to speak, quick to listen, or slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen, and that's what helps me, you know, consistently. Sometimes I put my hand over my mouth when somebody else is talking, or when I know they need me to listen more than speak, or if I know I'm going to be reactive. Oh my gosh, like, I know they're bringing up a hot button, especially in, like, our spousal relationships, our boyfriend.
Right.
If you know that they're about to talk about something, or you're already feeling on edge or sensitive, or you're already having some paranoia, worries, or fears coming up, you know it's time for this conversation, or they're about to approach you. I mean, I sometimes just put my fingers over my mouth, and you may have seen me do it with you guys. If I need to concentrate and listen more, then this is just a reminder to me. Slow to speak, quick to listen, you know, slow to anger. And that's just the mantra that works for me. I adopted it. It was very simple. It was very helpful in getting me to remember that, you know, that whole concept, we've got 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. So I encourage you to continue to definitely think big picture, definitely be aware of responding versus reacting. You know, get it slowed down enough to where you're not doing those things, and then you're creating a more harmonious relationship with others or with your significant other, especially. I mean, I think the ones that are closest to us, I know me personally, I've had a much harder time with, meaning I may be able to be a really great listener if I'm in front of my boss or if I'm in front of a manager, you know, when I used to work for other people, or when people are really abusive, I can apply the same principle. Stay calm, stay neutral, listen first, so I can evaluate what their problem is.
Right.
And then I know if they're going to need validation. I can learn. I've learned you're going to grow your superpower, right? The innate abilities that are in you, whether you've already discovered them or not, or they were there but now they're gone because you're not so connected. Being still and being in the moment, right? Listening more is going to give you the ability to be more intuitive to what other people's needs are.
Yeah.
Make sense? Any questions? No?
No.
Awesome. So I've also included there a worksheet about bullying, and that's really just to help you to identify, if you guys want to do it really quick, we can talk for a little bit about, you know, how do we, same thing that we just talked about, identify the types of negative relationships you're getting into or what you have gotten into, and then obviously the reason we're teaching all these things in this week is to change those interactions so that you're not a victim, you're not having victim mentality, so that you're having a positive thought process, that you're implementing your own mantras to make you feel better and realize these problems are not about me, they're about that other person. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? No?
Okay.
So what I'd like to know is, I didn't ever have you fill out a weekly reflection from the beginning. I think I had asked a few people, but not everybody did it. I want what I use this for is to look at your progress in everything that you've learned thus far. Can you take a moment to think, and I'd like you to type up kind of like a testimony and send it to me, but if you can share it right now, I'd like to hear of a little bit more specifically about how do you feel you were coming into Girls in Power training and mentorship, right? Or just learning before you even knew anything about it, to where you are today and you're actually implementing these things and these methodologies and these tools. How has it changed your life? You know, how do you think that it's impacting your world with other people? How is it bringing you more success? You know, think in terms of, how have I changed and become a better person? Or what am I enjoying and happier about? Am I feeling more happy than I was 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago? So I'd like you basically just to sit back and think about, how has my world, how have I changed, and how is, as learning these tools or being reminded of these tools to use and why to use them impacted your world? And then I'd like you to type that up and send it to me so we have it. But does anybody like to share right now?
Well, I guess for me, it's basically what I said beforehand. Like, I mean, I came into Girls in Power obviously wanting to make a difference for young girls, but also help myself as well. And while we didn't really get the chance to work with the young girls, I know that it really helped myself a lot in terms of learning new things and learning how to, learning how to implement things that I kind of already knew, like communication and things like that. Just, you know, learning how to just calm down and really approach things, you know, in a different manner than I would have before. And so that's really what I've been taking away from all of our workshops and trainings and things like that.
Great, good. How about you, Leslie?
It's kind of similar. Definitely, I came in wanting to help people and actually learn. I didn't expect to learn a lot about myself, especially in terms of communication. I know a little bit we were talking before, I'm more open and more direct with people now versus before. Usually I just like cut conversations short or like assume and just keep on going. And that's definitely something that made a difference. If I just like wait, listen, get all the details, then think about it and not just quick to react.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know, Leslie, just so you know, Leslie and I'm actually shooting you over an email right now, Leslie. So thank you for your patience on potentially having a back to school workshop for young girls, so that we can work on teaching them same thing: communication, managing feelings, boundaries, and limits. Inviting them to our workshop space. So, you know, your training is not all for nothing. You know, this may give you the opportunity to work with girls again. This may be able to give you the opportunity to work with them in the next 2 months, 3 months. If you're here, you know, so forth. So one thing that Leslie and I are talking about is typically in August we do a workshop that's kind of like a back to school. You know, kids that are maybe have butterflies or are nervous, and reminding them of the things that they can implement: the fishbowl perspective,
Right.
you know, communication, listening, boundaries and limits, and then how to win and influence friends. And so I think it's awesome that you're personally taking away, because that's exactly what happens to everybody in the organization who goes through not only the training, but some people just have to get initially trained and then implement these very same modules in a workshop setting with young girls. And so you're still walking away learning the same things, right? And so I'm pleased that you're you know, getting something out of it, and that you're actually able to apply it, because that's a testimony that this stuff works. No matter what age you are, this stuff should be taught, right?
Right.
It should be modeled constantly, and we need more people that are, you know, positive thought leaders like what you're becoming to continue to do and model and emulate, because that's what helps create a better society. And you're helping others by doing that, because you're allowing them to have a voice, you're allowing them to feel heard, which is all the things you want to feel.
Right.
Right? So it fosters good relationships. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up next week. Did we change the time already? Does anybody know? Let me look.
I don't think we changed the time.
It's still in the afternoon. Now you're starting a job, right, Remneet? Do you have
Yeah,
your...
on Monday. So my schedule is essentially like 8 to 5. It's a little bit flexible, like by a couple of hours, so I could do like 7 to 4.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what if, Leslie, what about you? Do you think if we did, a third is right before 4th of July. We can move it to like Wednesday afternoon if that's better, or keep it Thursday and just maybe work it a little later so that Remneet can make it on with us. You guys want to look and see which day would be better? Because I'm open. I'm going to be home recovering with my wrist, but I'm open to having it, you know, a little bit later, not too much later. So I don't know what time would be good for you, Remneet.
I mean, if you guys could do like 5 or 5:30, I could swing that. So if that's not too super late for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
It's fine with you?
Yeah.
All right. So which day do you think would be better?
I mean, I could do both days, but I feel like maybe Wednesday might be the best out of the two. Wednesday.
Leslie, are you open that day?
Yeah, and it would be better than the Thursday.
Okay, so let's move it to, do you think you can be there by 5 or like 5:15, Remneet?
Yeah.
5:15? Okay, so let's move it to 5:15 and to Wednesday. And Remneet, will you go into the schedule and change that for me?
Yeah.
And this time, can you invite all the guests?
List? I think what we can do is, because the calendar is shared with certain people, whenever there's a change, it should send like a...
Right, but you both told me you didn't get it.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I got it.
Do you know who changed it this last time? Was it you or was it...
No, I think we assumed it might be you, because when Alyssa went on to change it, she said it was already changed.
Oh, yeah, I didn't change anything, so I don't know what happened there. Maybe that's why we didn't get the...
Ah, that's weird. Yeah, she said it had already been changed. So a mystery person changed it. I don't even know how that's possible.
Okay, well, I'll change it now.
Thank you. Yeah, and then change it to Wednesday, 5:15. Make sure you invite everybody. Like, it doesn't have to be the shared calendar. It literally just needs to be in the invite.
Okay.
And that's how I invited you guys, I think 2 weeks ago. is I put everybody's address and I put an update. It's going to be online, not in person. Blah blah blah. The date's been changed. I put that in the note section, and then I click send, and then that way everybody actually gets the true. Because even though the calendar's shared, it doesn't update on everybody's phone. It doesn't send them a message.
Yeah.
They have to get an actual invite.
Okay,
Do
I'll
you know
do
how to
that.
do that?
I think I do.
If you don't, then once you change it, I can actually do it from my phone and invite everybody.
Okay.
So
Let me see
either
if I
way.
can do it right now, and then you guys can tell me if you get it. I can do it really quickly.
Yeah, it's when you're in the section of creating the actual event.
Okay.
So Leslie, I'm going to send you some things, but I want you to keep in mind what I sent you is just what we've done before. In other words, we have so many workshops to choose from. So it's basically coming up with a concept, coming up with a timeline, coming up with and then working with someone to create a flyer or yourself. So I can send you a bunch of different things we've done, but I don't necessarily want to duplicate it exactly. It's just to get your juices flowing.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just waiting on you, Remneet. Let me know, Remneet, when you want me to check the email.
Where'd she go?
Is she not there?
Yeah, well, I don't see her.
Okay, well then let's just hang up. All right, so I'm going to shoot you over the email right now, okay?
Okay.
Let me know if you have any questions.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Feel good. You're doing great. Bye.
Bye.